my allergies.
Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. Michelle's right there, and we've got a great guest that we have here, and we're going to be talking to her in just a moment. How is Michelle today?
Oh, Burchelle is getting so many things done. I've hit a point to where I am not as attached to other things as I am to myself. So as you've taught me to take one thing at a time, it's been not only more peaceful, but a lot easier to get things done efficiently and quickly, rather than making it so damn complicated. So I feel very successful so far this week. And I hope everybody else gets to end the week with that same feeling. And with that said, we have who is a coach and holistic mentor and all these different things working with people to better your life is Jenna. So thank you for being here. And how are you?
Hello, hello. Well, it's good evening for me, but good afternoon for you. So good afternoon and evening to everybody. I'm doing wonderfully. I'm doing really, really well. We are experiencing a little bit of a wild winter, like spring, summer weather right now. So I apologize if my internet goes a little in and out with this wild weather that we're having, but we're going to make the best of it.
Well, and yes, we are. And by the way, it says here that you're president. So being president, there's some questions I have for you that maybe you can help us with. Do you ever go down to Washington, D.C.? No, I'm kidding you. You are president of her company, which is called, of course,
Soul Purpose Institute and Mission Driven Advisor.
Soul Purpose Institute. I want to delve deeply into that because so many of us go, I don't even know if I have a soul. What does a soul do? I don't know. How does it work? How does it help me? Does it help me or does it hurt me? Is that voice in my head, is that my soul or is that something else? So we're going to talk about all that if you don't mind.
I would absolutely love to, because what you did, Mr. McDonald, was you just made it so super complicated by asking all those questions, which, by the way, the human mind loves to complicate things. I can give you a really simple, clear-cut answer. And the way I look at soul purpose is building a life that you love. And for my entrepreneurs that I work with, which most of my folks are entrepreneurs and or leaders, C-suite, CEOs, it's integrating what it looks like to build a life that you love, but a business that you love as well.
That is so vital because a lot of people, they get in, I keep on using these frames like a lot of people. Well, so many people, I don't know how many people do or don't. But I will tell you that I think some of us get into a business and we're an entrepreneur and it starts to grow and then we get nervous and then we get stressed and then things happen and all that kind of stuff and weird stuff happens. And working with a coach, I advise everybody to have a coach, especially somebody that is working as you are with holistic mindset, business and mindset coaching, because that's really paramount, isn't it?
Of course, yes, 1000%. And I don't just say that because I am one. I say that because I also have one, because I look at it as we as human beings. And by the way, when you say, so many people, you're talking about the human condition. Yeah. It's true. It's the human condition. We go after our passions and we don't always necessarily realize what all of that entails, right? We don't take that bigger picture where we're fueled by ambition, which is so great. But the downside to ambition is when our goals are blocked, when we get this tunnel vision of this is what success looks like. This is what everything has to look like in perfect, pretty little order. And so other areas of our life, our relationships fall off a little bit. Our communication styles fall off. So that's really just a part of the human condition. It's not in a world where everybody is special. I'm not special in this area. You're not special, right? We are, everybody kind of falls down that rabbit hole. So what coaching does is it gives us it gives us an individual who's intentionally there, put into your life to be that 30,000 foot view, world view down. I can only see what I'm doing about right up here. Every other day I'm in it, man. I'm in the weeds. I'm cooking lunches. I'm driving. I'm a glorified Uber driver for the kids. I'm doing calls, notes. There's so many things that are piled up, especially as a mom. My coach helps to ground me. She sees what's going on up here and she's like, whoa, 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 kiddo, let's slow down to speed up. Let's get really present and talk about what we want and what we're doing and or not doing for optimal goal achievement.
Well, and part of that is, people are saying, Jenna, she looks very intelligent. She speaks well. She could be her own coach. But it's the black spots. It's the spots that you miss. It's the questions that they ask, like, so why would you say that? Because you always say it and you don't really necessarily know why you say it. It's just how and they make you think.
Yeah.
Deeper.
Right. Well, it's a heck of a lot easier said than done. Right. And again, remember we talked about the human condition. We don't all practice what we preach.
Oh, stop. Really?
I wish. If only, can I say, if only? It'd be perfect. Everything would be perfect.
Everything would be ideal if we all if I practiced what I preached on a regular basis. But nobody has all the stuff that I have going on, just like I don't, have everything. I don't know everything that's going on for you and Brachelle. And so can I talk myself out of a lot of it because I know the tools, I teach the tools on a regular basis? The answer is yes. I can talk myself out of a lot of it. However, I don't always see myself clearly. And neither do you, and neither does Brachelle, and neither does this person and that person. We often have that tunnel vision, as I said before, or we don't realize that our glasses have spots on them that need to be wiped off.
How do you know that? Are you psychic? Because I do have.
No pun intended, Kevin.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Because I do have spots on my glasses, but I just recently was liberated from a cast on this hand, and so now I can actually move it and I can clean my glasses after.
Well, I'm so grateful that you're well.
I'm not well yet, but I'm on my way to being well.
Yes.
Kevin, don't tell us that the last few weeks you haven't been able to see because
of your cat.
Yes, because of
things are a little froggy and stuff, but it's enough about me. But in any event, Jenna, it's really cool to have you here. Brachelle, do you have any thoughts to ask a question? Go ahead, I dare you. Ask a question.
Actually, my mind is racing, and I have one specific thing that's just reoccurring that's going through my mind. Out of all of this, we're talking about it's fear, but failure. Failure is what causes that fear in the first place. Otherwise, it doesn't even exist because you haven't seen it, experienced it. It's not real. And I've been, I might go down a rabbit hole here for a minute, but we give everything its purpose and we make it real. We decide how something is going to be, why it's going to be that way. A lot harder to do than it is to say and try to make yourself believe. But what is your view and practices you use and things that you work with people when it comes to, we started off the conversation and it led into us talking about so many things, and it all started with people losing some sort of something along the way, and they don't do that. I myself have done that probably 2,500,000 times. As much as I say I don't, I've started so many businesses, I've tried and done so many things, but there's not one single thing besides this that I stuck with, and I gave it my all, and I made it work no matter the circumstance. How do you work with people to come back full circle out of that and actually go into that? Because recently I myself am trying to do it, and I've met so many people who are like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And if I fail, then I'm learning more, and they're having a different perspective. So in how do you view this and help people not to kind of lose that? And if anything, let that loss gain them into more?
That was a big question. So
Wow, that was like 10 questions.
that was like 10 questions.
Just
Yeah.
like however you want to break it down, I'm here to listen.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to back it up to one of the first things that you said. And that was centered around fear. And what I remind and teach my clients is that there are two massive emotions that our thoughts are stemmed from our thoughts, and vice versa. And that is fear and love, right? Every other thought and feeling that you can name, procrastination, joy, creativity, upset, they all fall under those umbrellas of fear and love. Now, when you look at fear in and of itself, and I'm using the analogy of the umbrella because anybody in Rochester, New York right now needs one, and a big one. So fear, there's two kinds of fear. The first is a fear based in love. And Rochelle, I know, and I'm pretty sure, so I stand me correct if, are you a mom yet?
No, not yet, but
I didn't think so.
Almost was quite a few times, yes.
Okay. So
I served that purpose. I just haven't had my own, so I have done more than yes.
You'll get this analogy where a fear based in love looks like you're outside with your child, your niece, your nephew. Really doesn't even matter, right? You see a little kid outside bouncing a ball. The ball goes into the street. This child goes after it, but does not see the car, right? That is coming at a very fast pace. So what do we do? What is our first initial reaction?
Run. Get that kid.
Stop, oh my God, right? We're freaking out. That is fear within us. It's based in love. It is a fear based in love. There's another kind of fear. And that fear is based in nonsensical and irrational thinking. I call it, if I look at it as an acronym, it's false evidence appearing real. So in the moment, we're telling ourselves a story around a business that we're starting, around a situation that we're in, around an experience that feels icky for us.
Yeah.
So what do? We either fight, we either freeze or flight, run from it, right? There's a series of ways that we approach that fear that we think is happening. Now, you relate it to failure, but I look at failure as, first of all, it's subjective.
Yeah.
So every business that you've ever started, my dear, if you failed at it, it's because you said you failed. Somebody else, if you tell me a story, I would have been like, dude, that's amazing. You killed it.
Yeah.
Right? But that was a fear. That was a story that you told yourself out of fear that you had to hit. You put conditions on that particular situation. And when those conditions were not met, you internalized it by thinking that you were a failure. That's fear. Does that make sense?
Total sense. That was the most beautiful way. I didn't even know there was two forms of fear. That alone of what you just said is extremely powerful and probably answered every other question. I know we need to take a quick break, so I'm going to let Kevin do that, and we're going to announce you and your stuff. But when we come back, you can either finish that question or we can move on with the conversation because this could go so many ways.
Okay, excellent.
So if you want to go to your website, which would be Soul Purpose Institute, is that correct?
Yes, so it's either soulpurposeinstitute.com and or missiondrivenadvisor.com. It goes all to the same place.
Yes, and souldrivenadvisor.com, which is actually, I put the soul in there because it's also, you include that because you're really interested in helping the whole person, and whether or not you want to admit it or not, your whole person includes your soul. And I'd love to talk about that because some people are like, be still my foolish heart. We have one of those? What does it do? I have no idea. I've never seen it. Have you seen yours? And we'll be we'll be right back. And by the way, if you're going to be a real estate guy, want to be a real estate guy, don't know how to be a real estate guy, but you think you can be a real estate guy, listen to this. This will help.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Brichelle. And sounds to me, Brichelle, like you can hear music. Could you?
Yes, you can hear it today. Everything's falling in place after it falls apart, of course. And thank you for dancing with me, Jenna, because sometimes it's kind of cool to get somebody to just move for a minute.
We always dance it out over here.
The boogie never leaves you. That saying has stuck with me, and I'll take it till the end of my days.
I don't even know how to answer that because you want me to dance with you? No, I don't think so. But so we're talking with Jenna and Jenna, please.
D'Annunzio.
Okay, Rochelle, you have to remember that now. She's the staff linguist.
That's okay. It's a tricky last name. No worries.
It's okay. It's very unique and it rolls off the tongue, so I'm all about it.
Thank you.
And when somebody talks to you, Jenna, and they come to you and they say, well, you're a coach, and you say you help them connect themselves to themselves and their soul and all of it, because it's all connected. And people go, I have no idea what you're talking about. How do you explain it?
How do I explain it? Well, I mean, really, Kevin, what I do is if you hang out with me long enough, I'm going to trick you into really loving yourself and what you do. And realizing that you and only you can do that.
Oh, what do you?
You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, because then that's what happens to a lot of people. They go, I can't do this. I don't know what you're talking about. You tell me I'm doing it. I'm not doing it. If somebody else is doing it, I need to hire somebody to do it because I can't do it. Does that mean?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of that? Because that's a lot of not only negativity but lack of awareness about themselves, and that they don't believe that they can, even though they're trying to do it. Doesn't that sabotage?
Kevin, I think it brings so much confusion to a person who's never done that before. They don't understand. It's like working a muscle. Like if you've never used one finger in your life, you don't know what to do. So how do you help them do that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great question, and truly, it's about understanding. Have you guys ever heard of breath work?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've kind of coined this term thought work. It's similar to breath work, but it's really understanding this concept of our thoughts become things? And where do they all stem from? It's really understanding the foundation, the core root of why we think and feel the way that we do. And it's really generational. Our belief systems drive our behaviors, and our behaviors drive our results. So I'll use a simple analogy of, are you really afraid of spiders?
Yes.
Really? What's so scary about them? What did a spider ever do to you that was so incredibly, individually, personally terrifying?
They were in the same room with, well, actually, it's a funny story. When I was a kid, I lived in the basement,
Yeah.
and we had paneling on the wall, and I heard this sound while I was sleeping, and I woke up, and there was the biggest spider that was crawling up, and he was so big, he was making noises. It scared me to death. And then I meet Rochelle, who likes to pet them. It's like, oh God, really?
Okay, but it wasn't the spider that you were actually afraid of, by the way. It was the noise that woke you up in the dead of sleep.
Yes, and the spider had no intention of doing me any harm. He was saying, "Oh, damn, I woke him up, and now that this isn't going to end well."
Now, I can tell you why I'm afraid of spiders, because every time a spider came into the room, my mother would scream bloody murder. That's why I'm afraid of spiders. It was a complete learned behavior. It was a learned belief. She was afraid of that spider. She would scream bloody murder. She would jump up on the chair like it was going to come and literally eat her. She had the same visceral response to spiders that she did as if a saber-toothed tiger was chasing her to kill her.
When just a real quick story, when I was in high school, I had a girlfriend, and she was my high school sweetheart, and I would go over to her house on a Monday morning if I had sports or something that weekend, hadn't been there, and there would be these upside down glasses all over the house, because that's where the spider that they put in, and they put it underneath the glass, and it was my job to kill the spiders and remove them from the house because they were too scared to do that.
Right. Now, when we really think about that from an actual bigger perspective, right? That's a tiny little kind of comical way to understand where so many of our beliefs are rooted in. But when we really start to unpack some of the big discontent that people are focusing on, business owners, they come to me for external reasons. They want to grow their business. They want to make more money. They want help. They want consultation in implementing processes and strategies that are going to help them to scale and to grow, and all of these wonderful things that are just as important. And so many of the reasons why they're not doing those things are based on a series of limiting beliefs and negative stories that they are energizing that they don't even realize they're energizing. And so what I do is I come in and I really start to unpack, right? We're all onions. It's just peeling back the layers of those onions to reach the core to understand, okay, why are you self-sabotaging in this area? Why, Rochelle, were you putting conditions on success for yourself that when they were not met, you were suffering and you felt like you were a failure? And this is some big stuff.
And I'm part of, and Rochelle, answer this honestly, I'm willing to say that part of the reasons that you felt like a failure was because of what other people were telling you, and you believed them.
100%. It goes back to, I think this is why, Jenna, so many people are just like, I could learn that, I could do that, I could go through that, but I just don't want to, because it brings up childhood trauma. It brings up situations, experiences we don't want to remember. We already convinced ourselves of a certain way that it happened, and we've moved past that. We can't go backwards, but it's so much more powerful than that, because you get to go back and you get to not only accept it, but allow it to be a build in your understanding that moves you moves you forward, rather than something you choose not to understand or accept that is like this brick you're just dragging with you all the time. And it's hard though, because I know that Kevin is totally and completely right. Anything I ever did as a child, if it wasn't perfect in every way, shape, or form, by the timing, by the dime, by the quality, the ins and outs of it all, I heard something about it. So it was like, no matter what I did, it was never enough. And it always had to be perfect.
So
Though
you
just
learned to put,
just that
there was
simpleness.
conditions on you. There were, and I say this with love, there was conditions on your love, your parents, your caregivers,
Yeah.
whomever it was, put conditions that if you didn't meet them, you weren't good enough, or that you weren't loved enough, or the things that you wanted you could not have. And therefore, you came into adulthood carrying those conditions. And you said something so brilliant, and I want to honor your ability, whether or not you realized it, to reframe a negative story in and of itself that so many people, humans, the human condition, we say, oh, well, I got over that trauma. I've already taken 10 steps forward. Why am I going to go back? That in and of itself is a negative story. It's not going back. It's your childhood. It's you. It's part of why you are who you are, how you got to where you are. It's not going back. It's surrendering. It's forgiving. It's giving inner Rochelle and inner Jenna and inner Kevin the love that it didn't know at the time it needed.
Yeah. And Jenna, I'm so open to sharing this with you. The realization came to me that most of the things that I believed and I went through, that I still sometimes want to just go head on with until it blows up, all has to do with learning. Like it all comes back to knowledge and how I learned something and the experience of that. And I say this with love too, as parents. Like, I think we need to pay so close attention to the way we are around children and what they're seeing and hearing and watching us do, because that's how they're learning. And if they see you tell yourself you fail at something, or you didn't do good enough, or it's the same thing as doing it to them. Do you think that's valid to say, Jenna?
Yes. I think, I mean, when I'll catch myself being hard on myself. And then I remember, whether it's, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not pretty enough, or, even those types of things. Like, I have 2 girls. Yep. The level of confidence, the love that I give myself, the love that I give my body, the love that I give my brain, there's no doubt that they pick up on that. The love I give myself, they know my energy. Yep. So much so that my oldest, I always say this, God gave me her to truly know what a mother-daughter relationship gets to be, the love between a mother and daughter. She was a true godsend. And I'm not just saying, like, true godsend. And this little nugget she's 11 years old, so she's not really little, but she is such a sucker for me. She's such a mama's girl that if I'm emotional over something, even something good, it's almost like I feel bad. Like, if, she won this beautiful award while she was dancing, and she got called back on stage. And they were saying, what's your name, honey? How old are you? And they complimented her. And as her mother, I was a freaking disaster. I ugly cried like you'll never believe. And she didn't see me when she walked off stage. All her friends were like, oh my God, they're jumping up and down. They're screaming, they're clapping, they're happy. So she's happy, and she's like, yay. She looks over at me, who's ugly, crying, snotting everywhere. And she burst into tears. And I was like, no, honey, it's okay. So, yeah, Michelle, to your point, the way we show up for ourselves and the way that we show up for others is exactly how our children and the generations to come know how to treat themselves and how to treat others.
And by the way, we're talking with Jenna. She is a holistic business and mindset coach. She does a wonderful thing. And I'm gotta take this break, but going into the break, I want to share this with you real quick because it was insidious and I didn't even realize it for like 30 years. Okay. When I was young, I said, can I go play on a Saturday? And she said, no, clean your room. So, sometimes you get adventuresome and you really want to do a good job. And so I got the vacuum and I did underneath the bed and I did all that stuff. And I even put the vacuum away. And my mom came in an hour later from shopping and I said, can I go play now? And she said, no. And I said, why? You haven't cleaned your room yet. And I said, Mom, I did. It's great. I did a great job. And she said, no, you didn't. You know how I know? The vacuum's not out. You know what? To this day, my vacuum is not put away.
You won't ever put that dang vacuum away.
Not a prayer, baby. It's going to be there forever because it took me a long time to go, now, there's a place for the vacuum. Why don't I ever put it away? And to figure out why, in my mind, it was like, yeah. So I want you to talk about that when we come back because, because I think it's a lot more common than what people might think, and they don't even know why. Rochelle's here. She's having fun. Jenna, you're awesome, by the way. And we need to take our halftime break. We'll be back in a minute and 10 seconds. Don't anybody go anywhere.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk and the Dancing One. Rochelle's over there and Jenna's below or over there. If you're just listening to the audio, she's not below anybody. But Jenna, it is so great to have you here, and I want to continue. But answer me that question, because isn't it so that a lot of us have things that we just do, and we don't really know why we do them?
But you do know why you do that in particular, because you.
I know now.
Right.
You just have to remember.
Well, it's intention. It's the power of intention. When you are intentionally plugging in and allowing yourself to actually dig deeper, if you say to yourself, well, I'm going to back up. It's awareness and then intention, right? You became aware, like my vacuum cleaner is always out. Why do I do that? Like it has a home. The home is the front closet. It's a nice home. There's space for it there. Why don't I ever put it in there? And that's when you decided to, by asking that question, you got really curious and you intentionally dug deep into understanding and remembering why that dang vacuum is always out. And it's now, it went from a subconscious to a conscious association with when the vacuum is put away, something is unfulfilled. Something is incomplete.
Yep, that is so true. And but a lot of us do that, don't we? Don't we have unspoken, unrealized triggers that for some reason, all of a sudden, Rochelle, that things just go off the rails, Rochelle, and go nuts to us all
Well, it's like the spider. It's a belief, right? It was a belief was formed. The spider, I go into hysterics over a little living thing that couldn't care two craps about me because I associate it with it being terrifying.
Well, what about, okay, so here from now Kevin's conscious, but what about every time now that he's aware of why he doesn't put the vacuum away, he knows he's going to put the vacuum away, and then that comes up over and over and over and over.
Reframe. There's a reframe. There, you can tell yourself it's all about the concept of cognitive reframing, which Rochelle, you did a beautiful job of it by saying, instead of going 2 steps back, I told myself a different story, uncovering the why. Now that I know that I associate this behavior, whether it's good or bad, right? It's a neutral experience. It's not a bad thing that the vacuum's out. It's not harming anybody, right? But it's not necessarily, it's empty space. Yeah, he might trip over it, but he's probably put it in the corner of the room so he doesn't have to, but he's still seeing it all the time.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I would, but and you know what? Now it is a monument.
Oh, now it's just a part of your furniture.
No, it's a monument to the fact that now I don't have to listen to what my mom said when I was 10.
Yeah, I can't wait to get that phone call from you, Kevin, where you're like, guess what I did today? I vacuumed my house and I put the vacuum away. I've been to Kevin's house. I have seen the vacuum. I know where it is. And when I get that call, I am so excited because I'm going to be able to be the person to remind him, you did such a good job.
Yep.
Because that's what he needed to hear that would have changed the entirety of the situation.
Well, that, and if I could add to it, Kevin, do I have your permission to possibly go a little bit deeper there?
You may indeed, if it's going to help somebody, absolutely.
Okay. So it goes also beyond the incomplete, but it also may or may not potentially trigger a mistrust. So your mom didn't trust you that you did what you said that you were going to do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So now forgiving that feeling within yourself by saying, I'm going to put this vacuum away because I am making the conscious choice to disassociate it with anything as it relates to my mom.
That is so brilliant. I got a million of them. I could use this show as
I'm going to be cleaning up Kevin's house just psychologically.
Absolutely, because you know, there's so many things that all of us face and that we have in our life, and then there are some things that happen. Can I, Rochelle, may I have your permission to do another?
Okay.
Thank you. Jenna, when I was 10 years old, I went to see Charlton Heston was in it. Planet of the Apes. I went to see that, and there was a trailer for Hang 'em High, which is a Clint Eastwood film about, and they showed people getting hung and all that kind of stuff in a Hollywood way. And we had an apricot tree in my backyard. And long story short, my brother, 18 months older than me, had put together a loop and hanging from the tree and a ladder next to it. I put my head through the noose, pretending to be in that trailer, and my brother pulled the ladder away.
Okay.
And I swung back and forth for a little bit, and then he put the ladder back, and I had rope burns from ear to ear. He passed away at 64 3 years ago, and he never in his entire life told me why, what was going through his head when he decided to pull the ladder away. And that affected me and our relationship for the rest of our life.
Of course.
And it was one of those things I could not get over. When he was cancer ridden and stage 4, I was still asking, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And he never could answer me. And so that was, but we do that, and then we get stuck and things that have happened to me like that, when somebody picks on me or they do something, my first reaction is to bite back. And Rochelle's seen that once, and when I bite back, it isn't necessarily pretty. But how do we get past some of those things?
We understand that we associate, understanding why, right? What we think, once we get the answer, that we're going to feel better.
Yeah.
If I just knew why he would do that, what was going through his mind, then I could forgive him. You associated forgiveness with understanding why.
Yep.
And so then you couldn't forgive him. Knowing that now, and rather reframing that to say, I don't need his why to forgive him. I don't need anything from anybody to take care of my own inner peace and forgiveness. That's really what it's about. It's you freeing yourself from that weight, that heaviness, which I'm not here to invalidate that. But what I am here to do is to take care of you and tell you at the end of the day, and tell Rochelle and anybody, regardless of what the situation, the severity of the situation, to heal yourself, your inner wisdom, for your peace of mind. You don't need anybody, a validation from anybody. Yeah. Does it help? Is it nice to know sometimes? Sure. But sometimes, is it really? What would it have changed?
And Jenna, and the reality is, he may not have had an explanation. It might have been an impulsive thing. I don't know why I did that. I just kind of did that. Because
I'm a dumb kid and I wanted to see what was going to happen. And I don't, is movies real? I mean, how many times do I tell my 6-year-old who loves, Avengers, you can't hit me with hammers. Right? I mean, now granted, he's 6 and your brother was 11, probably. You were 10. He was younger or older than you?
Older.
Oh, yeah. So he's 11, almost 12 at the time. But to your point, when it's hard to make that, and our brains aren't fully cognitively developed. Yep. So he may not have had an answer. And even if he did, what would that have changed for you in order to release that chain that was pulling you down of pain, of hurt, of upset, of frustration, of anger?
Wait,
go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just going to say, because at the end of the day, after that happened, he put bandages all over my neck so that my mom wouldn't see. He was older. He was 12 and stuff. And so when she saw, she was so taken aback by the fact that he had hung me by the neck. She'd never heard of such a thing, that there was no repercussions. And so there was no punishment. There was no anything. And so what that taught me, as being the offended one, is that people can be mean to me and there are no repercussions of it. And that's the message I took forward from it.
And that's a valid message. You were not safe at home.
Especially when he put me in the dryer. He did that too. We didn't have a great relationship.
We got a lot to unpack here, buddy.
Yes.
I'm here for you.
But my point is, that happens to all of us in one way or in one degree or another. And Rochelle's got actually more horrific stories than I do. And
we all have our traumas, right?
Yes.
And trauma, there's various levels of severity. But really, trauma is just unresolved conflict. Somebody could have pushed you down and you scraped a knee and somebody laughed, and that instilled with you some deep level of trauma because it was unresolved, versus something, your brother hanging you, or, for me, I've had so much unresolved or so much trauma growing up in my relationship with my mother. And so I am a fierce mama bear. These claws, man, they're real. Don't mess with mama's babies, right? But that's because I didn't have anybody to advocate. I didn't have a mother to advocate for me. So I know where these things come from. I've done my very best to heal them through. I love my therapist and I love my coach. And I'm very open and vulnerable to these things because the more we talk about what's going on for us, the more we open up the door to human connection, to pull each other into this space to say, we're safe. We can work through this together. And you're not alone.
And by the way, Brachelle, would you like to tell everybody how they can get a hold of Jenna?
Yes, I'm going to share it at the end of the show, so I force you to stay with us because we've only got 15 more minutes. If you're watching or listening, go visit everything she's talking about through either soulpurposeinstitute.com or missiondrivenadvisor.com. And when we come back, I just want to touch on what would have happened if Kevin kind of took it the opposite way on the why. And then I wanted to talk about boundaries and all this and that. But I'll finish up with that question to end what we started with Kevin. And then I'm so sad we have to go after that. But it'll be okay. So everybody stay with us.
Planning my therapy session now because Brachelle has been chomping at the bit and I've been preventing her from doing her job. So.
No worries.
I love this. This is good.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Brachelle. And my name is Kevin McDonald. And I got to tell you, Jenna, you are just an amazing person. And I want to tell you because it's important that people know this as well. And that is, you talk about manifesting and you talk about, and I manifested her. You know that? It was amazing because I needed somebody, I wanted her or somebody like that to be on the show. And so it's amazing what you can do if you just let it go and let the universe do and act on your behalf. Is that okay?
Yeah, the success that you're seeking, it's seeking you too. It's universal law, right? So you said, you manifested, I will have someone like Brachelle on my show who has gone through a series of X, Y, and Z's, and she has overcome them, that she recognizes that we're all lifelong learners and works in progress, and that she is a strong, independent woman who is ready to work and organized and loving and awesome and funny and dances. And here she is. Like, the universe wants that for us. We just have to believe it in ourselves as well.
And it took me a long time to actually believe it. And but now it's here. And I'm going to turn the show over to Brachelle because she's got lots to ask you.
Okay.
Well, no, I just wanted to touch on one thing, and it was very powerful because we were talking about the why. And I found myself through so many versions of who I was depending on why. And I found that I stopped asking why, and I all of a sudden didn't want to know things because it could hurt me. And I found myself again turning into another 6-year-old. Why? But I'm not even able to explain or fully understand what shifted and allowed me to ask why again, but not be so attached to it.
To the outcome.
Can you help me and somebody else maybe understand?
Well, because your subconscious was able to recognize that at the end of the day, why is not associated with pain, and that non-attachment is really the ultimate form of caring, where you love yourself too much to allow past events and experiences to cause you pain in the present moment, in the here and now, in time and space. all of us have had pretty intense, severe traumatic events that happen to us, right? You know, the three of us, but really everyone, we all got our stuff,
Yep.
right? What we do is we have a choice. We can either come from a place of love or come from a place of fear. I no longer give my mom and power over me and what happened. I take that as that experience to recognize and learn how I don't want to be, the mom I don't want to be. And I realized there's this incredible principle. I call it the people principle. And I think I shared this on the show last time, so forgive me if I sound redundant, but I think it's really important to reiterate this. And the people principle states this: everybody's doing the best they can. Every single person. We're all doing the best we can with what we have, given the conditions of life, given our belief systems, and given our genetics, right? People are predisposed to some mental health disorders, predisposed to any sort of medical issues, right? Genetics are a thing. You can't really fight that. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you can't. And so when I looked at it, when you looked at it, it was like, you know what? I'm no longer thinking about that, asking myself why. It's not going to hurt me. It's going to help me.
Yeah.
It's not a hurt. It's a help and it's a heal.
Well, and you said something that, two simple words. I have, three. I have a choice and I choose. I choose. I don't even think I had to dig that deep, and I didn't even have that full recognition, because when I realized that I choose it all,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I freak myself out, because I'm like, I've realized that half of everything that's created all these problems for me is my attachment to it and what I've chose to be attached to and why. What's crazy is I think it was in a moment where I realized I could choose. I've already heard that. I understood. I didn't absorb it because I didn't experience it. There was a moment of time I was doing something this last week that I changed. I was like, no, that's stupid. I'm not going to, why am I going to think of that? And it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, everything after that kind of changed. Now I'm almost weirded out by myself, because I'm like, how are we going to handle this? What's coming? But it's crazy because it made everything feel like it just stopped, and it's so easy to be present.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at everybody else and I'm like, you literally stress for no reason. You're just wasting time and energy. It's so sad.
Yeah. Well, don't see it as sad. You're learning.
Yeah. Well,
you're doing the best you can. Remember, like I just said, you were doing the absolute best you can do. If you could do any better, you would.
Yeah. And that's not wrong, right? It's not that I'm looking at things and I'm all of a sudden somebody who's just detaching, because it's not like anything doesn't have meaning. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Right. Right. You're just no longer allowing that meaning to cause you pain. That's the difference. I look at when a lot of folks refer to it's attachment or detached. I don't look at it as detached, because detached is having apathy. And I deeply care. I deeply care about a lot of stuff. I got to put myself in check. I care about a lot. Right. And I am a chronic people pleaser, old school. I'm getting rid of that, but it's true. Same as you, Ray. I needed that validation from people. I needed that love and validation because I was constantly striving for it as a kid. I had similar conditions put on. And non-attachment, and it's so, so important. It's the ultimate form of caring. I can still care whether or not in a business context, people want to align with me. Of course I do. It's my career.
Yeah.
But I don't allow whether they do or they don't to make me suffer. Right? So it's not detached. I still care. I just love me more.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm going to take care of you and this by taking care of me and letting it go.
Yeah. And surrendering it.
I don't have to care. But I do, and I can't.
You don't have to hold it. You can care.
It's not that complex.
Right. But you don't have to hold it. Like in an ideal world, yes, I would have, bundles of clients and I would be, all of these things or whatever. In an ideal world, I would live in a bigger house and have this. But I'm not attached to it. I'm just going to continue to create value. I'm going to continue to talk to amazing people like you guys and just spread joy and value and love. And what comes back, I'm all for.
Very good.
The concept of I choose rather than look what happened to me is a really freeing concept if you really honestly know it and trust it, that is there for you. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. It's very healing. It's healing. It's really no longer it's climbing what we call the stairway of selves. There's 3 realms of potential. And the first is the physical realm. And that's really, it's very animal-like, very reptilian. It's your fight, your flight, your victimhood. And the happiness meter, when we're in that physical realm of potential, on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say is probably 1 through 4, 1 through 5. They're just constantly, they're complaining. They're blaming everybody else for everything that happens to them, right? Versus the mental realm of potential is really where most of us are, where we get a little creative and we start to rationalize what's going on and we can kind of understand, but we haven't quite tapped into that spiritual realm, which is just a higher place of awareness that we can accept. And you're talking about acceptance mode, that no matter what happens to me, what happened in the past, I know and I trust in the universe, in God, in whoever you believe in the trees, that it has my back. No matter what, I'm going to be okay, and that it has my back, right? We talked about universal law. You manifested Rochelle because you were in acceptance mode. I accept that I have somebody out there who's going to be my right-hand girl. And she's going to support me and listen to me and love me and all my flaws and all my imperfections and help me to build out my mission. You trusted the universe was going to give that to you. And it said, you bet your butt. Here you go. Her name's Rochelle.
Okay.
Great.
And I knew it would come around eventually. And the fun thing is that she was as in the dark about any of this as I was. And until it all came to be.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
And I had been on the other end of it, accepting I am open to any possibility of greater than where I'm at now. Because I was working my butt off. And although I was enjoying it, I wasn't really getting anywhere. And I realized now that it was my first moment of where I actually surrendered. And now look at me. So it's really possible. I think it's crazy to see how much you can go through and look back at it in just a year's time. Because now this next year, I'm like, wow, imagine how much further we're going to get and how much more is going to change. So always know that it's possible and you can choose what it's like.
Jenna, thank you so much. Rochelle, tell us how we are going to get a hold of Jenna.
Yes, go get a hold of Jenna. Go to Soul Purpose Institute or Mission Driven Advisor, either of those.com. Jenna, I'm guessing that you have some social medias as well. If people want to take a look at you and your life and your work and see that you're a real living human awesome being.
Yes. I'm on all of the social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X. Not as much on X, but I'm there.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for your time. This is
such a pleasure.
And you have to come back because we didn't even talk about attachment as much as I wanted, and boundaries is something I'm so curious to hear you talk about. So
okay, I'm on it.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Rochelle. See, Jenna, isn't she grand?
She's the best.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time on Positive Talk.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at KM Media.